Hi again, everybody. In my last video post, I showed you how to take a book from a thrift store or a library book and prepare it for visual journaling. So I have the same book here that I worked on in the last video called The Golem, and I wanted to show you what I've done inside to alter the pages, just to make it a little bit more interesting to work on, and it might give you some ideas for things that you want to try inside of your journals. I have added some images, but really these are very basic pages that I'm going to have to go back and do a lot of work on top of. So some ideas for altering pages in your book. You can change the shape of your edges. Like this one, I've just taken scissors and cut, kind of a wavy edge. I've used some rub-ons to add some images just to get me started. And, I still have a lot more to do on this. I love to add in pages. So this is an old bingo card that I've just attached with some masking tape. So I kind of made my own theme and added in a page. And because we took out all those extra signatures from the book in the last video, I have lots of room left for added pages, which is a good thing. And I like having different size pages to work on. So, just for a little bit of variety. This I can gesso over and paint on top of, or leave some of the numbers showing. There's a lot of options for that. I also have punched some holes, which is kind of fun because you can see through, especially if you plan it out right. You can see some little images showing through, which I might leave or I might change as I work on the book. These pages I've gone through all of the pages and reinforced any pages I needed to with masking tape. So these are good and strong. But then for these pages, I cut a horizontal slit so that I've got two smaller pages, which when I go to work on these pages later, it's going to be kind of interesting to see how I make these pages work so that when one page opens over here, how does this half work with the other page down here? A lot of interesting questions that I'm going to have to answer later on. So I kind of like having these different kinds of shapes going on. So right here, this is this is a page from a history book that I added in, and I did that with a little sleeve here. And I don't know if you can tell what I've done, but I took 2 pages from the book, made a wavy cut, leaving about an inch, and then inside of each of those I put a lot of glue stick, and inserted my new page. So this page is kind of shiny, which is a nice difference compared to the rest of the pages. And I've done that several times in here. I've added little tabs that stick out. I like to have things that kind of stick outside of the edge of the book. This is an old, actually I think this was attached to my keychain when I dropped off my car at the mechanics one day. So I've just used some really heavy duty glue and stuck it on there. And again, I used a sleeve method to insert a piece of vellum. And vellum is kind of fun to work with because you can see images through the page. So, and vellum is kind of a different material. It's kind of shiny, it's a little waxy. So when I go to work on this, I'm going to have to kind of play around with materials to see what works and what doesn't work. And I found an old photo from a magazine. I just glued that in. It's going to give me somewhere to go later when I start working on these pages. Again, sometimes I just cut a page short. This is just a short little page. I cut about an inch off, and it just makes it a little more interesting. This is an old auction card from Phoebus Auction that I inserted with a sleeve again. And these sleeves, when you're cutting these sleeves out, you can make them straight, you can make them wavy, you can use punches, you can use your X-Acto knife and cut out shapes in here so that you have kind of a neat design showing. So this is a nice thick cardstock piece of paper, so that'll be fun to work on top of. Again, I used my circle punch up here to punch out some holes. Used another sleeve to add another page from the history book. Here's another tab on a page that I cut short. This came from a piece of clothing. Just you know, the name tag. And here I found a really interesting piece of paper, but I've covered over most of it with masking tape. Sometimes I like to put masking tape as a background. So this is a sleeve that I've created and inserted another page from that history book that opens up. So this is kind of a fold out, you know, little fold out added piece. And the masking tape is just something fun to work on top of. If you've never done it, it's kind of neat to use as a background. And this page I left pretty much the same. And then my back pages I cut into 3 smaller sections. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with that yet, but I like the way it looks. And then I just had a little envelope, so maybe I'll tuck something in here later. But anyway, those are some options for things you can do. If you don't want to just work on a book that's got pages that all look the same, here are some ideas. So I will probably have a video soon showing how I've started on some of these pages. In the meantime, enjoy and have fun creating.